they were trying to do last year, the offensive line was clearly the biggest problem. But where my concern lies, and I'm going to try not to muddy the question here, but I just want you to hear what I have to say about it. Jalen didn't provide the answers I think the organization would want when the offensive line didn't hold up. That's not to say that the offensive line was good, but I think when you have an elite quarterback, you want him to be able to say, okay, that's not working. Let's go to this. And I don't know that the Eagles ever felt as though they could do that, or if they did feel as though they could do it, it obviously didn't work out well. Their passing offense has been what it's been. Where do you kind of put Jalen Hurts in this mix, Les?
I wish I knew. I mean, he does certainly bear some responsibility for this. And John asked me on here after I made a sarcastic comment about the ESPN quarterback rankings yesterday. But that really gets at the heart of, I don't think the rankings were necessarily unfair because they're very year to year. Last year he was 9th after winning the Super Bowl, which might seem a little low for a guy who just won the Super Bowl and was MVP. But I think most of us understood. I probably last year at this time would have put him maybe 7th, something like that. He's not. You're talking about guys Zander that can change everything for you. He's not that guy. And the thing is, before people get too carried away with that, there's only 3 or 4 or maybe 5 of those guys in the league at a time. And the Eagles aren't going to have one of those guys that and I don't see them acquiring one anyway. The rest of the teams make it work. And there's a level right below that where you can have a very good quarterback who can win for you, who's not going to, he's not Joe Burrow. He's not going to make a horrible team competitive. But I don't know how much of it is. We're going to see, I think, this season, how much of it is going to be a problem with him and how much of it is the routes they were running, the offensive line being hurt, But the rankings, which John and I were discussing obliquely, was I just don't. Nothing against the ESPN or the rankings, but that's something you do in the middle of July when there's nothing going on. It's really, and like I said, there's these 3, 4, 5 guys that everybody agrees are, you could put a half decent team around any of them, and they're going to be very, very good. And the rest of the guys, if you look, I actually went back and looked at last year's rankings and the rankings the year before, and is Jaden Daniels in the top 5 this year? I don't think so. Or C.J. Stroud. A guy has a good year, a team has a good year, and he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And it's, I just don't. I think it's pretty fungible once you get past the very core group of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and a couple others. I don't even know. Lamar Jackson, had 2 humongous years before last year. Look at Lamar Jackson last season and tell me he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
I think I had him at 5 on my own, but that's sort of the line that you're talking about. You got the elite 4 that pretty much everybody, maybe they don't have them in the same order.
Right.
Like I had Burrow first. I think Stafford second coming off last season. Then Josh Allen, then Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes didn't have a good year last year.
No, and he got hurt too. Yeah. But here's the thing. I think the important thing, not that first of all, I hate lists. I hate them like a pat, but we all have to do them at some point. I think I always say it's important to define your list. Like, I saw Max Kellerman, for instance, not picking on Max, but he's talking about what Jalen Hurts did in 2022, which is, hey, look, if nostalgia is involved.
Right.
But ESPN and Fowler did define it. What they asked, and I'm going to read you the definition. This was not a 5-year projection or a career achievement award. but meant to answer a simple question. Who are the best players right now?
Yeah, I know. And Hurts and the Eagles offense had a bad year. I mean, I don't really put that as a definitive. The problem is people look at these rankings, particularly people who have an agenda, and look, this will tell you what the league really thinks of Jalen Hurts. Well, it tells you what the league thinks of him coming off of last season.
Exactly.
Coming off of the season before, the league thought something totally different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very. I always say this league moves very, very quickly, both ways. It's never, and I think so many people think that so and so is a great player and they're going to be a great player in perpetuity and everything's in a stasis. It's not. It moves very, very quickly. Guys have up years, guys have career years, guys have down years. Sometimes they are descending, sometimes they're ascending. And that's what makes it difficult. It's also what makes it fun as well. But as somebody who's been around this team for a very long time and knows Howie and Jeffrey better than most, there's a clear history that they're proactive with people they believe in. And when they have questions, they're going to wait. So the two Jalens, I'm expanding this not only from Jalen Hurts, who has just $22 million in guaranteed after this season. So look, if they won the Super Bowl again, trust me, he would have gotten an extension, a tweak.
Oh, yeah. There'd be no, but he has to. Hurts has to prove that he can run this offense, and it all has to work. I don't know if they have to win the Super Bowl, but and then they'll talk. At some point during the season, I would imagine if things are going well, they'll delve into this extension. I think it's a little with contracts in the NFL. We've gotten so ahead of ourselves. I mean, he's guaranteed a ridiculous amount of money this year. There's he's not looking at any sort of insecurity for the coming season. If he should get hurt, he will take home as much money this season as anybody could ever spend in like 3 lifetimes. It's,
I don't know about that. When I hear Floyd Mayweather, people blow money. People blow this kind of money.
Well, I don't know how Jalen is very
I digress.
Mayweather-ish, but
I don't think Jalen will be going.
No, I agree.
I'm just contract.
To the point that they
unless Jalen thinks his contract is an issue, Jalen Hurts, unless he thinks his contract is an issue, I don't see any reason before October why you would even worry about that. You got plenty of other stuff to do, including Jalen Carter.
Remember, Howie's got this de facto weird policy now that if he thinks they're a Super Bowl contender, he doesn't want to.
He doesn't do it during the season. Yeah, I don't know about that. I
don't agree with it, but
I think you put yourself in a hole. Nobody's going to be jealous of anybody if you give Jalen Hurts.
That's true.
Jalen Hurts is playing well and you lock up Jalen Hurts. If there's a guy in that locker room who's offended by that, you need to get rid of that guy. Is my view. Maybe they need to look at that sort of thing a little bit.
Now, what about the other challenge?
Well, that's a much tougher. I wouldn't do anything with him right now. I want to see him come to camp. I want to, you had a better idea than I did in spring work. Is he in shape? Is he?
Well, he was doing the hold in. He was doing the hold in. He wasn't doing anything. He showed up.
Yeah.
But well, he's done the Ben Simmons thing. He's put together, sort of some videos of him working out in South Jersey.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, he couldn't lift weights. He had so much pain in his shoulders. So,
with him, I really want to know how much of this has been the shoulders, because it was a very disappointing season, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's the shoulders and it's fixed, then sure, give him all the money in the world. But if there's more to it than that, then no, no. And that's their job to figure that out, I guess. I don't know, but I'm not in any hurry to get that resolved myself.
Yeah, he's under contract through 2027. There's not much he can do. I guess he could show up to camp and hold in again for a week or to send a message, but
you can always trade him if he doesn't want to be here, Yeah.
I mean, well, that's the only leverage they have, really.
There are other great players.
Yeah. Drew Rosenhaus could request a trade, I guess. That's some leverage. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he shows up and is participating right away. That's a very good sign. But
yes.
We'll take a wait and see approach on that. The defense as a whole, Les, we don't talk about it much on this show because there's not much to talk about. They're just
not
good.
Much to pick at. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some concerns at safety, but I mean, if you look at all the great defenses, Houston, Denver, the ones that people perceive to be in the same category, they have holes. Everybody,
oh yeah,
you're never perfect.
The 85 Bears aren't coming